Hey friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and today is not a tarot video. Today's video is something a little different that maybe some of you could relate to, and if not, maybe it's something that you could start doing to help you feel at peace with especially the loss of a loved one. Now today is the anniversary of my father's passing. He died in 2001 on this date, February 23rd. And he was only a year and a half older than I am currently, So it's kind of sobering, Now I know many people lose their parents very young in life, and I was very fortunate to have my father into my 40s. So that was a blessing, of course. But it still felt too long. It still felt too sudden, At any rate, a couple videos ago, I was doing either a demonstration reading or a reveal, maybe even a comparison between two decks. I think, they were, and the two decks, if it was that video, was the Ehrenberg Tarot, along with the 1909 Pamela Colman Smith, Edward Arthur Waite deck comparison. And when I came to the Strength card, the woman in the Strength card was wearing a lion medallion, and I commented on how I had a special object given to me from my mother that she made me when I was a preteen. It was at least 50 years ago, because I'm 65. So it was probably close. It was definitely at least 50 years ago. At any rate, I don't know why I kept it all these years. I know it was special to her that she made this for me. I think she was kind of proud of it. I don't know if she was proud of it, but she was happy to give it to me because I think, I was a Leo and she wanted to impress me, I guess, or something like that. Because I was probably hard to please being a preteen girl. And, but I kept it all these years. Now, many objects in this room are from my mother. And so my mother's presence is here constantly. But there was never like one particular item that I felt like when I was in the presence of, I felt like that is the essence of my relationship with my mother. And when I saw that medallion on the Justice card of the Ehrenberg Tarot, and I went and I got this medallion, which I had handy because I kept it close to me, but it was in a box, right? It felt like it was suddenly released, and now it's just going to sit on my tarot table unless I wear it, as a constant strength reminder of my mother. Now, I did share in that video that I have two beautiful, I'll switch the camera. I have two beautiful strength reproductions, one from a TDM, Dodal. This was gifted to me by Krisztin and over at Artisan Tarot, and I cherish it. And then the other gifted to me by my daughter, which is a representation of the Strength card from the writer Waite Smith deck. Now, there was, and those cards I associate with my mother because at some point, about 5 years ago, I created a card in a collaborative deck, and I used the Strength card to represent my mother, who at that time was not dying of cancer, but by the time the deck was completed, she had died of cancer. She wasn't even sick with cancer when I started the card, but I just saw it as representing her, the Strength card. Now, I'm talking about my mother, even though this is the anniversary of my father's death, because there is a point. But at any rate, so of all the tarot cards in the deck, really, the Strength card, or the Fortitude card, is the card that connects me to my mom. And now this makes absolute sense that this object would be the one object in the room of all the other objects I have from her that ties me into my mother. Now, there's been another object that I've had that I saved since I was about 7 or 8 years old. And it's this guy, Mr. Coconut Head. My father was a businessman, and he traveled sometimes, and whenever he traveled, he would bring back souvenirs from wherever he was. And so he had to go to Florida for a few times. And when he came back, he brought me back Mr. Coconut Head. Now, I would bet anything that neither of my parents in a million years ever imagined that I kept either of these things. In fact, I wish I had, my mother only died like 7 years ago, something like that. I wish I had said, hey, look what I've saved all these years. Although when she died and I went through her belongings, I was amazed at some of the things she saved from me. I remember doing a card in first grade. I drew a picture. I made a card for her. And it had a flap that opened up, and inside the flap was a picture. And I was so freaking proud of that picture in that card. My mother saved it. She had it in her top bureau drawer. She saved it right there. Every time she opened her drawer, it was right there. And I was amazed to see it. But at any rate, there are things that we save our whole lives. And the loved ones in our lives, I think, would be shocked to realize that we held on to these things. And I think my father would have been very shocked to know that I kept this Mr. Coconut Head. Let me go get him. Now, Mr. Coconut Head actually even looks like my father. My kids say, oh my God, it looks just like Pop. They called him Poppy. It looks just like Poppy. And so this is probably, well, aside from the few belongings that come from his side of the family, like photographs of Josepha, photographs of my father as a child. I have a lot of photographs of my father's bunch. And I have the divination dice used by his grandmother. So I have objects that that were dear to him, but nothing that had really been from him except for this. And I kept this no matter where I moved. I moved cross country twice. I had kids. I moved from house to house. I got divorced. I mean, this guy stayed with me. And he's always been a presence in my tarot parlor, And so for those of you who sometimes watch my videos and say, what the heck is with that coconut? That's what it's about. It's about the presence of my parents, with me constantly. And that is kind of comforting, to be honest, because they're not photographs of them, right? They remind me of moments in time. And the essence of them is contained in these items, Of all the things that I've gotten from my parents at this stage, I would think that losing Mr. Coconut Head, or at this stage, losing the medallion, the lion medallion, would hit me hard, It would hit me kind of hard. And so I was wondering, perhaps on this day, of recognition of my father's passing, and that was 23 years ago. So it's a long enough time, but you never really completely heal from a loss like a parent or anything closer, But a parent is a pretty close tie. But if you're an adult, when you lose a parent, it's hard. But if they gave you the tools to move on, you can. And even if they didn't give you the tools to move on, there are ways that you can move on and never get over their loss, but you can accept it. Somebody described it this way, and I don't know who it was, and I wish I could give them credit, but it's like there's a big hole, right? And the hole is unsurmountable when it happens, but eventually you learn to walk around it. You learn to just walk around the hole, and it's always there. It never goes away, but you can deal with it, better. And I think in large part, it's because I've always kept my parents close to me. And then having objects around me that remind me of them, that kind of contain their spirit. If the spirit is contained in one object, it's these objects, and it just helps me. Now, of course, I recognize that I just recently adopted this as my mother's. But I have the force, the fortitude prints that I see every day. I just look right at them, I just look right at them every day. So that's a constant reminder. And everything, like I mentioned, there's so many things in this room that are, were given to me by my mother, that there was never a lack of objects connecting me to my mother. But it was just recently that I seized on this particular one and understood. It came full circle when I saw the medallion, when I was doing that reveal of the Ehrenberg Tarot. But for yourselves, maybe you could consider that as a thing. After the dust settles a little bit, when the loved one passes away, go through your things and find the one thing that you kept for years without even understanding why. And maybe they never knew that you kept it. That's the item. That's the item to keep close and to have be a presence. And for me, it's always been a great comfort. Just a great comfort. And talk to them. I talk to Mr. Coconut Head all the time. I truly do. I truly do. Including just a few minutes ago, before I started this video, I told my dad we're going to do a video pop. At any rate, I'm talking low, and you may hear the humming sound of a monitor, the baby's in the other room. And I just wanted to sneak this video in before he woke up. He's a cutie tootie. He's so cute. At any rate, so this is a short video. I hope it's been helpful to you. I just thought I wanted to do something special like this in honor of my dad today. Until next time, friends, peace and stay well. See ya.